20 years ago, I was hypnotising my best friend. I asked Graham to drift back in time to the last pleasant experience before he was born, and to allow his head to nod once he was there. After a few minutes, Graham's face started to go red as more blood flowed to his cheeks. His breathing slowed further, his shoulders relaxed, and he slowly started to nod his head. I asked Graham to describe to me what he was doing. He said that he was lying down on a cobbled street, drunk. He was in front of a pub. There were some children stood laughing at him. He felt very comfortable, warm and peaceful. When I asked Graham what year it was, he said that he felt like it was the late 1800s. We explored this life for a while, with Graham answering questions about what he was wearing, what the environment was like, what he was like as a person, before I then asked Graham to drift back through this lifetime into a pleasant memory from before this life. After another period of silence, Graham nodded to let me know that he was now in a new memory. He described that he was a young adult, male, and he seemed to be on a university campus, standing in the crossroads of paths which crisscrossed the grounds. He said that he was nervous and excited. He had a wedding ring and was going to propose to his girlfriend. He was waiting for her to arrive. Graham vividly described the environment, the trees, the warm summer weather, how he felt and what he looked like. He described the type of person he was, what his girlfriend was like, what his life was like, and many more details. One of the things which has always interested me is how vivid and detailed past life regression accounts can be, especially given that the person giving the account doesn't necessarily know what they're going to be asked, and so is coming up with this detailed description without any prior planning. And once they're in the past life experience, they respond to questions about what they're experiencing without any problem answering. The ability for our brains to be able to do this so convincingly has been a fascination of mine ever since the first time I read reports of past lives revealed during hypnosis. The process of using hypnosis for past life regression is very simple. If you haven't and are thinking of giving it a go, I'd recommend that the hypnotherapist is experienced and competent, and that they encourage a positive experience, and that they also know what to do and how to handle the situation if things don't go to plan, perhaps if the person has a more negative experience. Hypnosis is the process of focusing attention and increasing responsiveness. This can be done in many ways. It could be through focusing on breathing and following along to instructions to breathe in and out, before moving that focus inward to perhaps visualizing something. This could be something which is connected with what you're doing, like focusing on being in a comfortable chair or hammock to relax down in, or focusing on a door to pass through. It could be seeing a clock and watching as the hands begin to move backwards. It could be descending steps, and perhaps the therapist could be counting down during that descent, or as you're becoming more absorbed in the experience. In her book, Celebrity Regressions, Lee Everett describes guiding Elton John back into some of his past lives. She frequently states that she isn't doing hypnosis and that it takes her about 10 minutes to guide someone back into their past lives. Lee describes, "When I'm regressing a subject, I help them to relax into a meditative state. I generally get them to visualise something like a door, a staircase or a house, anything that gets them focused." She continues on, "The more I get them to wander about in the life, the clearer it becomes, and without realising it, they go deeper and deeper into the memory." She describes that she isn't telling them what to experience. She's just the guide, and her questions are what lead them to uncover more details about the experience. This may all sound very familiar to you because it's a very similar approach to how I do hypnosis, as anyone who's listened to my healing sleep stories will know. I like to just be a guide and allow people to navigate their own way through an experience, rather than dictating to people what they should experience. I also rarely do something which may seem like a formal hypnotic induction, but instead just use the principles of hypnosis to absorb attention and increase responsiveness while talking about whatever we're focusing on. This is generally a very gentle and permissive way of hypnotising someone, whether for past life regression like we're discussing here, or for therapy. For example, in one of my healing sleep stories, I may have the listener focused on walking through a meadow and will ask questions about what the sky looks like, what the meadow looks like, what they can see, hear and feel within that experience. In therapy, a client may be there to overcome anxiety in certain situations, and I may say, just take a moment to let your eyes close and see yourself in that experience. And then I may continue to ask the client what they can see, hear and feel in the experience. And this would be the hypnotic induction, my way of absorbing the client's attention and increasing responsiveness. I'd be using the situation as the hypnotic induction rather than doing a separate hypnotic induction before moving on to the therapy. Elton John apparently initially refused to undergo past life regression, stating that he believed this is his first and only time here on Earth. But after talking to someone who had had the experience, he agreed to give it a go. As Elton relaxed, he drifted into a first past life experience. I'm greeted in a dark, sombre hallway by a small, shaggy dog. It's a dark stone house with a very big hall. The stonework is very old, the place is cold and dreary. I really don't like it here at all. Elton continued. The dining room has a long wooden table, a fireplace, and the walls are all stone. This room is very large, and there are 2 or 3 people in the room. I can't make them out very well, but they're wearing very old clothes. Velvets. It looks like pre-Elizabethan. The woman is wearing a long dress. It's not a poor house. It's very big, but there are no ornaments of any kind. I'm now sitting in the centre, at the side of the dining table. There's a man at the head of the table. I think he's my father, and another man on my left, and the woman is sitting opposite me, and I feel that she's my mother. We're being served food by 2 women wearing aprons. I can't see the stairs, but I'm now in the upper part of the house in a small bedroom with a fireplace and window. Again, very bare. There's a bed and a table with a candle on it. I'm wearing long skin boots and my small feet, and a long shirt. I'm a boy of about 8 years old. It's a cold, lonely life, and I die very young. There are no more memories past this point. Lee guided Elton from this past life into another, hoping that it would be more comfortable. As Elton absorbed himself into this next memory, he spoke. I'm standing in a garden, looking at a beautiful French chateau surrounded by fields. It's my house. I enter through a magnificent wooden door with gold trim. It's an ornate house with gold leaf all over the place. I take hold of the door handle with a gloved hand. I'm a 28-year-old man, very finely dressed, rather like a cavalier, with long curly hair, a large hat and a belt with buckle and sword. The house is lavish and crammed full of beautiful things. There are paintings of family, my mother and father, and a separate one of me. The hallway is light, very light. It's full of beauty, and I'm obviously wealthy. The gardens are laid out in symmetrical detail. It's a typical French chateau. Elton continues. There's a long dining table, not nearly as long as the first one I saw though. It seats about 16 people on gold chairs. I can't see anyone else. I seem to be eating alone. I'm being served by a young footman who brings me wine and a bird, a game bird. Now I'm sitting in a beautiful, beautiful room with a piano. I'm alone and sitting at the piano playing. I'm not writing or reading music. I know it's my own composition. I socialise a lot in Paris. I see myself eating a meal in a restaurant. There are 6 people, including myself, all wearing similar clothing, late 18th century, fine and ornate, and we're all wearing wigs. We're just 6 men at the table, no ladies, though there are ladies in the restaurant. We're talking and laughing and being very loud. Before Elton moves on to his next memory, he concludes, "I'm now seeing myself in my early 40s. I'm in Venice and I'm very ill. I'm looking out across the bay to the other side of Venice and I know I'm gravely ill. This is the hour before my death. There's a priest by my bed." Lee thought that the session would end there, but before she could wrap the session up, Elton found himself in a third past life. "All I can see is mud. I'm a soldier in khaki and am wearing a tin hat. I'm covered in mud. I'm in the trenches and it's the First World War." He progresses to the next day in the past life. "We're marching along a road and I'm absolutely exhausted. We get to a bombed out house and we all flop down inside to rest. It's France." His past life experience then jumps forward a year. "I'm in hospital," Elton shares. "I've been injured. There's shrapnel in my leg and I'm here to have it taken out. My wife's at my bedside. She's a small, dark-haired woman. She's only about 23. The war is over for me now." At this point, Elton's experience jumps forward over 20 years. "I'm a bus driver in London. It seems to be the early 40s. I'm living in the same small terraced house that I was born and brought up in. The wife and I live with my parents. We have no children." Elton ends, "I'm aged about 40 now. I'm driving the bus. I've lost control and it crashes. Everything's gone dark." Just as Lee is guiding Elton back out of the experience, he briefly glimpses a life as a boy on a farm who died young, and following this experience, that night he dreamt a tune so vividly that it woke him up with excitement. He tried to find someone to tell, but no one was awake, so he went back to bed, only to hear the tune again in his sleep. This tune stuck in his head, so he put words to it, and apparently it's one of the songs on his Sleeping with the Past album. Lee felt that it can't have been a coincidence that Elton John experienced a past life as a composer in France, and then that night composed a melody in a dream, which wouldn't leave him until he did something with it. Belief in reincarnation has existed in religions and various cultures for thousands of years. This video isn't debating the possibility of reincarnation or past lives, but has focused on the experience of those experiencing past life regression. I've had people respond incredibly emotionally to past life regression experiences, and others have found therapeutic or creative benefit. The details here from Elton John's past lives are just the short extracts shared in Lee Everett's Celebrity Regressions book. It's likely that Elton gave a lot more details, and would have given significantly more details in response to any questions that he was asked. And often, to the person experiencing the past life, it can seem incredibly real. People often claim that they don't know where the details are coming from, and it can seem too detailed to be made up, with people saying things like, "How would I know that kind of detail?" Obviously at this point, when they're recounting their experience, even though it can be very detailed and the person can give that detail, like what colour the front door is, or what they look like, or what is on the mantelpiece, as easily and quickly as if they were asked exactly the same questions in a real room. There's no corroboration of this detail. None of it has been researched, and alternative explanations for details haven't been explored. Whether it's real or not, it can seem so incredible and be so interesting to be listening to the person speak and hearing them answer your questions, and hearing the tales people tell. So if you have any interest in the topic, I definitely recommend giving the experience a go and discovering what you come up with. Have you ever tried past life regression? What past lives do you think that you would recount? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching.